The November 24th, 2025 meeting of the Planning and Economic Development Committee will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Chardy. Here. Mr. Chardy is present. Mr. Cruz.
Presente.
Mr. Cruz is present. Chairman Frazier.
Here.
Chairman Frazier is present. Ms. Hasman. Ms. Hasman is present. Mr. McCabe. Mr. McCabe is present.
Is there anyone signed up for the public forum?
No, there's not.
Is there anyone present who has not signed up to speak who would like to address the committee at this time? Our next item on the agenda is a presentation by Jennifer Sarion, Chief Financial Officer, who is here to present the 2026 proposed Monroe County budget as it pertains to the Planning and Economic Development Committee. We will have a question and answer session after the presentation. And I hope I pronounced your name right correctly.
Thank you for the opportunity to present the budget. And if you want to move to the next slide. So this is going to be short and sweet. Planning and development does not have a ton going on within it. So planning and development funding accounts, the net county support accounts for 50% of planning's budget, while the community development block grant funds 30%, and COMIDA and MCIDC together round out most of the balance at 20%. Next. The Planning and Development's 2026 proposed budget has a net county support decreasing by $138,000 when compared to the 2025 adopted budget. Notable changes contributing to this decrease, we're seeing, despite the increases in collective bargaining agreements and salaries and benefits, we have a decrease of $150,000 related to the defunding of 3 positions and moving a position to ARPA funding. We also have a decrease of $71,000 in contractual services, mostly, and that's related to the $75,000 elimination in land bank funding. The community development block grant revenue is reduced to match the expense for community development. And just want to point out, planning and development share an extensive list of 2025 accomplishments and 2026 objectives on pages 251 through 253 of the budget. And I encourage you to read through all of those when you have time. That's the end of my presentation. I will take questions.
Are there any questions?
Yes, there is. I have a few questions. It's not that many.
Legislator Chardy.
Everybody can hold their breath. Through the chair, what percentage of the planning and development department budget is mandated versus unmandated, non-mandated?
Through the chair, we'll have to get back to you with that information.
Through the chair, on last year's budget for 2025, preparing the municipal land use report was a 2005 objective, and it is again in 2026. Why was this not completed in 2025, or was it completed? 2025, I apologize.
Through the chair, this is an annual activity performed by the planning division, so it appears on our list every year.
Did it reach its objectives in 2025?
Through the chair, yes.
Through the chair, on last year's budget for 2025, an objective to finalize the Monroe County Comprehensive Plan was a goal. Why is it on there again in 2026?
Through the chair, the comprehensive plan has been a labor of love, and it's taking a little bit more time than we had originally anticipated, but we do sincerely believe that we will be finalizing it in 2026.
That was my next question. What Go ahead, I'll let you finish.
Sorry. I just want to point out the project was initiated during the COVID era. And because of how dynamics in our community and our economy have shifted a lot in the wake of that era, we needed to do some extra market analysis work to make sure that everything's accurate and that we're planning ahead for the long term without any noise in the data, if that makes sense. But again, we have confidence that in 2026, we will take this across the finish line.
And through the chair, can you tell me what is left to do with regards to the Monroe County Comprehensive Plan?
Certainly. So we have a draft in final form, about 99% complete. And what remains is presenting the draft to the county executive and senior staff, and later on, also engaging with some outside stakeholder organizations that contributed data and insights to the report. And later on, it is our intent to present the plan to this body as well.
Through the chair, on last year's budget for 2025, completing the Monroe County Farmland Protection Plan was a objective, and now it is again in 2026. To the same line of questioning that I've had, was this completed in 2005? If not, what is left to do and why is it on 2026 budget?
The Agriculture and Farmland Protection Plan is currently in final form and is open for public comment through December 5th. And once again, it's another public document that will come before the Monroe County Legislature in short order. And the reason why it was an objective last year and is an objective once again this year is because it took slightly longer than planned due to the labor and consulting research that went into the exercise. But it will be public very soon.
Through the chair, last year's budget, supporting New York Smart One Corridor Tech Hub with available resources was a goal. And again, it's listed in 2026. Was it achieved, and why is it a goal again this year?
The Tech Hub grant was awarded by the Department of Commerce to regional partners spanning from the Syracuse and Central New York region all the way through Buffalo in 2024. And it's still in implementation mode and is expected to be a signature economic development initiative impacting this region and beyond for a number of years. So we anticipate that our Economic and Workforce Development Division will continue to be engaged with partners like One Rock, Greater Rochester Enterprise, Rochester Works, and other stakeholder groups to implement components of the economic development strategy in the near term and into the long term. So that's another item that may appear on our list of objectives in future years as well.
Through the chair, last year's budget, dedicating resources to identify land suitable for shovel-ready site development with a focus on infrastructural improvements to attract new businesses was a goal. Is that still a goal?
Through the chair, yes. It also aligns with some of what you will soon see in the updated comprehensive plan. It aligns with the Fairlife project in Webster and other recent initiatives such as the power and utility infrastructure improvements underway in the town of Henrietta and other economic development projects have indicated that there's a need to develop more and stronger infrastructure in Monroe County in service of commercial and industrial greenfield and brownfield sites. And this is something that industrial development agencies are active in, an activity that industrial development agencies undertake in all throughout New York State. And the County of Monroe Industrial Development Agency, COMIDA, has the capability, the resources to look into the development of modern infrastructure for commercial and industrial economic development in Monroe County. And we're still exploring avenues to do that successfully. We have, by way of certain state grant programs at Empire State Development, helped to realize shovel-ready site development for a handful of projects, including the Fairlife project site notably, and looking ahead into next year and beyond, in tandem with other planning efforts, comprehensive plan, the multimodal freight initiative, et cetera. We hope to do more and really lean into it to the extent that we have resources.
Okay, but that is not listed as a goal this year. It lists multi-module freight initiative instead. I have no clue what multi-model freight initiative is. Can you explain to me what that is? And modal is, and can you explain to me why is that listed and not infrastructure for site-ready industrial use sites?
Through the chair, sometimes when when developing this language, I take for granted that certain things are obvious or perhaps synonymous, or two things can mean the same thing at the same time. So I apologize. Multimodal freight initiative refers to a broad countywide planning effort related to shoring up the counties and in and throughout Greater Rochester and beyond our third-party logistics infrastructure. So transportation, railways, roadway infrastructure. It's related also to power and utility infrastructure upgrades that are needed to support ongoing economic development and economic revitalization goals. So it's referred to as the multimodal freight initiative, but the language could be broader, just to with a nod towards broader regional economic development goals and priorities. We in the Department of Planning and Development work very closely with Greater Rochester Enterprise and also with the utility provider, with Rochester Gas and Electric, and with other economic development partners to identify these priorities. And that's inherent in this particular bullet point. Looking ahead into the next year, there's a new grant program at the state level coming online for utility upgrades that at COMIDA, we intend to try to take advantage of on behalf of Monroe County Economic Development, which also kind of falls under this objective. So I apologize for the confusion or the confusing language that's used here.
So that initiative could, through the chair, that initiative could find shovel-ready sites like Fairlife.
Through the chair, yes, absolutely. Industrial development agencies in Onondaga County, for example, you may be familiar with the Micron project. The Micron project in central New York, located to a site that had been invested in for a number of years by COMIDA's counterpart in Onondaga County. Similarly, in our neighbors in Genesee County, the IDA there invested over the course of many years in the Stamp site, which is where Edwards Vacuum is currently investing into a new economic development project. So the goal for COMIDA and Monroe County Economic Development would be to engage in robust planning efforts to identify where there might be acreage that is ripe for that kind of development and for which we could, in which we can invest and thereby create an opportunity for an easier opportunity for a large project owner to make a decision to make a large capital investment.
Through the chair, you mentioned the Fairlife project, which is very near to me, given that it's my constituency and in Webster. What other sites do you have that are similar to that, or major site announcements that you anticipate that happen in 2026, or that you anticipate happening in, I'm sorry, that happened in 2025, or that you anticipate happening in 2026?
Through the chair, if, is the question related to project wins in 2025 and 2026? Or is the question related to site development? I'm sorry for my misunderstanding.
I guess both, right? Like what wins or what did you have other than Fairlife in 2025? And what do you anticipate perhaps attracting in 2026?
Through the chair, thank you. In 2025, we were proud to have, more recently, we've crossed an exciting milestone with the City Gate project site, the Del Monte Hotel and other accompanying commercial projects that are going into City Gate are coming to fruition. And we've made some positive strides there. Other project wins have included announcements such as McAlpin Industries. There have been a number of different, majority of the Rochester Top 100 winners, as recognized by the Chamber as the top 100 fastest growing companies in Monroe County and Greater Rochester. A majority of them are companies with which we have engaged on projects large and small in recent years. And the top winner, We The Hobby, an exciting, innovative gaming and entertainment business, is also embarking on a major expansion that was furthered and facilitated by Comida. And I can follow up with, through the chair, I can follow up with the members of this committee with a more detailed list of project wins and what we expect to have in the hopper for next year. The economy is kind of slowing down at the moment. We're noticing a little bit of a downtick in project activity. So I'm not optimistic that we're going to have another Fairlife in 2026, but we're sure going to try.
So through the chair, you mentioned McAlpin, they were already in Webster, previous, to the program. So when you have a company like that, that's already, in an area, has potential land that they could already use, what type of assistance do you provide a company like that?
Through the chair, the County of Monroe Industrial Development Agency can provide property tax abatements, mortgage recording tax exemptions, and sales and use tax exemptions. And I can get more details to you about what specific benefits were afforded to McAlpin. But in instances where there's new construction, property tax abatements take the form of a pilot agreement, can be a powerful incentive. And the sales and use tax exemptions amount to 8%, 4% at the local county level, 4% at the state level. If you're spending a lot of money on a capital project like Fairlife, for example, those exemptions can be quite lucrative. And we did not do any financing for McAlpin, but we have an SBA 504 program, lending program, and we also are proud of our micro loan program as well that we offer to smaller businesses and smaller projects.
And through the chair, what steps are taken to recruit companies like Fairlife outside of the community to come here? And obviously 2025 major accomplishment, having Fairlife come to the Webster area. Do you anticipate in 2006 any industries like that, Coca-Cola, coming to an area like ours? Again, a substantial goal, creating the largest milk factory in country, I believe, or maybe the world. What types of things is the administration looking to attract those types of companies to the area?
Through the chair, since 2002, Monroe County has enjoyed an important and growing strategic relationship with Greater Rochester Enterprise. Greater Rochester Enterprise, their territory really is 9 counties, but Monroe County, Greater Rochester is the nucleus of the economic development region. And each year, through the county, we approve this committee and the full legislature approves a contract with Greater Rochester Enterprise. And then furthermore, MCIDC and COMITA are in contractual relationships with Greater Rochester Enterprise such that we have a really robust working relationship with GRE, and their business development team functions as an extension of the Department of Planning and Development and our economic development functions and capabilities. And GRE, their team will do things like they attend SemiCon West, and they are very active in the optics, photonics, and imaging industry, business development community, food and beverage manufacturing. They're regularly attending site selector conferences and convenings, and bringing together the biggest stakeholders in Monroe County and Greater Rochester's developer community and industry, as well as civic leadership. So GRE really plays that role for Monroe County as our voice and our advocate and our sales force essentially on a global scale. And since that's been in place in 2002 all the way up through today, it's been more than 2 decades. It's become a very sophisticated, very impressive operation, and it's borne fruit such as the Fairlife Project and there are many other countless examples. And I can provide you a list of their project activity as follow-up.
Thank you. With regards to those questions, I look forward to seeing what you have next year. Through the chair, on last year's budget for 2025, Monroe County Foreign Trade Zone was an objective. It's objective again in 2026. Was it completed? And what do you look forward to? What is to be completed in 2026?
Through the chair, there are 3 foreign trade zones in Monroe County for which Monroe County is the entity that helps to facilitate the approval of those foreign trade zones. They are legacy foreign trade zones by and large. One is at Xerox, one is at Eastman Business Park. And I think there's one more, and we can follow up with that data after this convening. But we don't see a lot of activity on the foreign trade zones. We don't see any interest in new foreign trade zones coming online, and the activity at the Kodak and Xerox foreign trade zones is relatively negligible. So it's an objective annually, but because it is a responsibility of our department, but it's not something that is, it's not a very busy work center for us in terms of activity. But we'll follow up with you we have to submit a report every year to the International Trade Commission, and it tends to be the same information every year. So it's really just a housekeeping item. We'd love to see more foreign trade zones coming online.
Okay. So the current foreign trade zones that you have you, and again, I'm sorry, through the chair, has there been a thought to expand them to potentially industries that aren't Kodak or Xerox currently trade? McAlpin, for instance, trading in different multinational companies, countries. Has there been a thought to expand that even with McAlpin Industries?
Through the chair, that's an excellent question. We did explore that opportunity in 2025 and hit some roadblocks with what was happening at the federal level. There was some red tape that we confronted, but certainly we have open minds and there's a lot of partners. We at the county facilitate and administer the program, but folks at the Chamber of Commerce and at Greater Rochester Enterprise were actively working with us to see if we could unlock some opportunity there, and we're still open to that. And I'll get back to you on I can circle back with you on what exploration we embarked on in 2025 and like what that roadblock actually was. But per my recollection, it had something to do with regulatory burdens at the federal level that were too costly and burdensome for us to undertake at the time.
And through the chair, can you just tell me what advantages would be gained by having an area foreign trade zone?
Through the chair, foreign trade zone, and again, this is an item that we'll get back to you with more robust information, but it's a duty-free area where component parts come in from other countries and are remanufactured into new items, and the duties are not levied on the product until after it is a finished product. So there's not individual duties levied on all of the various component parts. There's a single duty that's levied on the final product. And that's my non-expertise expert description.
So I'd ask this lastly, with regards to this line of questioning. So it was an objective to accomplish in 2025. Did you, through the chair, did you create more for trade zones, or is that why it's on 2026?
It's an objective every year because we have a duty and obligation to report out on all of the activity throughout the 2, possibly 3 foreign trade zones in Monroe County. We have an obligation to report on that each year. And so it will continue to show up as an objective because it is a work center for us. And to the extent that we can expand on the inventory, the territory of foreign trade zones, that will continue to always be a goal. I think it's a difficult goal to achieve, as we have experienced, just because of it's very costly for foreign trade zone to be developed and gain all of the necessary approvals. But it will always be something that we seek to achieve. The foreign trade zones and various activity, it dates back to when Eastman Kodak was in its heyday in Monroe County. So there was a time when this was a very, very busy center of activity for Monroe County. And today it's a reflection of how the economy has changed locally and beyond.
Well, through the chair, I know I said that was my last question on the foreign trade zone, but I do believe that the department should look into perhaps expanding. McAlpin is probably less than, I don't know, 4 or 5 miles from the Xerox plant. I'm sure that my constituents there would love to have, and especially the people that work at the McAlpin plant, have that trade zone expanded to that area. I don't know if that's a question or a statement, but.
Through the chair, we will absolutely follow up on that. And again, we're very open to these conversations, and we'd love to help not just McAlpin, but other area employers access the benefits of a foreign trade zone.
Through the chair, on last year's budget for 2025, utilizing the Community Block Grant and Home Improvement Partnership funding to improve housing stock for low and moderate income housing in suburban Monroe County was an objective. Is it not objective? It doesn't appear to be an objective in 2026. Why not? And was it accomplished?
Through the chair, that does remain an objective, and it was accomplished by way of our home improvement program. In 2025, we successfully served several 66 housing rehabilitation projects were undertaken by our department in 2025. And looking ahead into next year, we will continue to administer the program. So that is an objective and was an objective, and we've been successful in fulfilling the objective. Albeit we are expecting perhaps some reductions in community development block grant support next year, which is reflected in the budget.
I don't think I have any further questions. Thank you. I yield.
Legislator Cruz.
Thank you. Through the chair to the administration, has any funding has been invested for the first time home buyers program for the 2026 year? And if so, how much?
Through the chair, in 2026, sorry, I'm trying to open the relevant page here. In 2026, we anticipate offering the subsidy to up to 5 first-time home buyers. In 2025, we were able to offer it to 3 first-time home buyers. And the reason that those numbers are smaller is because of the fact that oftentimes the organization that we partner with, the Greater Rochester Housing Partnership, gets priced out of opportunities to buy and develop homes for first-time home buyers by the private marketplace. Developers and house flippers will come in and purchase viable properties. We hope that in 2026, the land bank, we believe the land bank will start to get more active. So in a different program vertical within the Department of Planning and Development, we're going to start to see more of our goals achieved related to supporting first-time home buyers, income eligible first-time home buyers.
Guess on that same note, and I think you may have answered the question, but I'm gonna ask you just to make sure, through the chair to the administration, how does the administration plan to acquire more houses for rehabilitation and resale? And is this a fund generating process?
Through the chair, the Monroe County Land Bank was established in 2025 and is working towards acquisition of at least 3 potential residential properties from Monroe County. And in 2026, the goal is for the Monroe County Land Bank Corporation to partner with other relevant entities, as well as with the Monroe County Legislature, to realize the development of at least those 3 residential properties. And ideally, we'd love to do more. There's $1 million in ARPA funds and $100,000 in funding from the state to support that work, which will move ahead in earnest in 2026.
One last question. I think it might have been touched up by my colleague, but just a little bit of, I guess, clarification. For the 2026, have we acquired any funding from the community development block grant through HUD for home rehabilitation? And if so, how much?
For 2026, we do anticipate that Monroe County will be receiving the community development block grant. It's my understanding that we're still waiting on the final numbers from the federal government. We budgeted a reduced amount for 2026 relative to 2025 based on our current understanding of the dynamics in Washington. And I think I'm not seeing the number right offhand, but Jennifer, can I ask you what the number? We'll get the number to you. My apologies.
Sounds, yeah, okay, thank you. I guess one last question, going back to my previous question. I don't know if I heard the answer to was concerning the acquisition of the houses for rehabilitation and resale. Is that process fund generating for the county? Like when we buy, fix and sell the houses, are we making money on that?
Through the chair, no, those projects tend to be represent a net loss because the county and the organizations that we partner with are not in a position to turn a profit. The goal is to help first-time income eligible first-time homebuyers realize the opportunity to purchase a new home at a cost that typically is below what it costs to rehabilitate the house in question. So short answer is no, there's no net revenue that comes from that.
Thank you very much, you.
Legislator Cherry.
Yes, one question to follow up on that. However, you are hopefully increasing the value of the property, thus increasing the assessment and generating more tax base, right?
Through the chair, yes, absolutely.
And with regards to those homes that have been rehabbed and sold to first-time buyers, you said 66 of those. Wouldn't it benefit, through the chair again, wouldn't it benefit county to do more than just 66 a year? Again, the elevated tax revenue, elevated assessments.
Through the chair, the 66 households represented beneficiaries of our home improvement program for income eligible homeowners and renters who would like to remain in their homes, and it helps offset the cost of necessary home improvements. The acquisition rehab resale program, the numbers are smaller. Handful of houses each year we're able to purchase and then fix up, redevelop and sell to first-time home buyers because, as I mentioned, we have limited resources, and because of the housing market in recent years being very active, our nonprofit program has been priced out or priced out of certain transactions by private bidders. So we would love to be able to do more. Unfortunately, we are anticipating a reduction in federal resources through the Community Development Block Grant, just from HUD to Monroe County to help support work like this. So I don't know that we'll be able to expand, but we are optimistic that the land bank with its development projects hitting their stride in 2026, that work will address some of the current need. And we hope to kind of draw some connections between the acquisition, rehab, resale program structure and the work of the Monroe County Land Bank, which is still in its nascent stages.
I'm going to ask one quick question before I get to you, Legislator McKay. Well, two quick questions, so I lied.
No worries.
One question I wanted you to talk briefly about. I see that one of the things that you're going to do in 2026 is to promote sport fishing and associated tourism through a strategic digital market campaign. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Of course, through the chair, we will get back to you with more details. This is an annual ongoing program partnership that we have by way of the Monroe County Fisheries Advisory Board and Visit Rochester. So Visit Rochester, it's a nominal amount of money, and Visit Rochester takes some of those resources and puts some marketing materials together on Monroe County's behalf to promote fishing and opportunities to enjoy the waterways in Monroe County. So we'll circle back with more information about that.
Thank you. And then my last question, there is, in 2025, we had 5.8 million in ARPA funds for microloans to serve underserved communities, and then it looks like that's a continuation. Can you give me a little bit about how much is probably left in there approximately, and what are you gonna do a little different from that from last year to this year? Or next year, I should say.
Through the chair, I'm very proud to report that we are only a couple of $100,000 away from having spent well, not spent, but lent out the entirety of the $5.8 million to eligible small, medium-sized businesses, the majority of which have been MWBE enterprises and service disabled veterans. I want to say it's in the 60% range. So it's been a very successful program, very impactful, and all of the principal and interest payments that come back to the Monroe County Industrial Development Corporation by way of the microloan program can be reutilized as loans. So it is a revolving loan, and thus the $5.8 million doesn't become a one-off grant or stimulus. It is a revolving vehicle to support economic vitality in Monroe County. And again, we can circle back with some data about how many loans have been made and how much remains to get out the door. And we have had successful marketing campaigns with WDKX, with public radio, with some local newspapers, and we've also gotten out there to attend business networking events, and we're just trying to make sure that we're in every corner of Monroe County where we can promote the program and get in front of the appropriate audiences to help more small businesses access the opportunity. But it's been a point of pride for the Department of Planning and Development, to be sure.
Thank you. Legislator McCabe.
Thank you, Chairman Frazier. Through you to the administration, I just have a couple quick questions. Hopefully we can get this done soon. Why is the position of staff assistant to the Director of Planning and Development added? That would be on page 737 for your reference.
Through the chair, that was a position that was created several years ago as a staff advisor, person that we were working with as a liaison in the executive's office. And after the departure of that staff person, the position was amended and changed into a staff assistant role. So downgraded, for lack of a better term. But that's a role that represents a vital line of communication and administrative work between the Department of Planning and Development and the County Executive's Office and the Department of Communications.
So is that position currently full? Or are you, I guess I'm a little confused by the answer. It was a position that went away. It's a vital position. I guess I'm just not sure if that position's currently filled or we're gonna fill it in the incoming year or the oncoming year.
Through the chair, I'm sorry, because I was confused with a different position. And this is a position that was actually transferred over to the Parks Department, and it's going to be reflected. You'll see it reflected in the Parks Department's budget at a subsequent convening. So my apologies, I was confused.
All right, now I'm confused. So the position of staff assistant to the Director of Planning and Economic Development was added on page 737, but you're saying that's a Parks Department position?
Through the chair, you're correct. The Staff Assistant to the Director of Planning and Development is a Group 15, and that's new in 2025. The position Anna was just speaking about was a Senior Staff Assistant, and that is the title that's been transferred to the Parks Department.
Okay, and then as a follow-up to that, so the position that we're adding is currently full. Cause you said it just got added in 2025, so it's a position we're funding into 2026 in the budget.
Through the chair, yes, it's filled right now.
Okay, thank you. And through the chair to the administration, the position of load document technician was added. Why and what does that person do, I guess?
The position of loan documentation technician has been it's actually been part of the department for a number of years. And inadvertently, I think in 2024, it was eliminated, but it was eliminated without there was a miscommunication. We actually still needed the position. And so it was recreated essentially due to the fact that we had a candidate ready to fill a position. And so it due to the similar budget constraints that we're facing this year and into next year, there were efforts to look at vacancies and eliminate or defund them where possible. And so in the case of the loan documentation technician, it was vacant at one point in time when we were planning the 2025 budget and was defunded and then refunded. So there was some administrative juggling that happened there. But the purpose of the position is it's an administrative role that supports our lending functions. So the 504s, the microloan program, and other economic development programs that we administer.
Okay, and then my final question through the chair, and I think you answered this, but I just want to make sure I understand this. So the position of a senior staff assistant got removed. That's the position that went to Parks, correct? Okay, great. Thank you. I yield.
Are there any other questions? One last question from the chair. I see that you have on one of the objectives of 2026 is to develop a restoration plan for the Genesee Valley Park, Olmsted, Arch Bridges. Can you talk a little bit about that?
To the chair, certainly. In 2025, the Department of Planning and Development was successful in partnering with the Genesee Transportation Council and with the city of Rochester to apply for a grant to modernize, fix up, and restore the arched bridges at Genesee Valley Park. It's been in planning and engineering phase since we secured the grant. Some planning and engineering work has gotten underway and design work, and the project, the restoration work itself, will get underway in 2026.
Thank you. No more questions? The next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. You have the October 27, 2025 minutes before you. They will stand approved unless the clerk is notified of any changes by the end of the day. Are there any other matters to come before this committee? If no other matters, the November 24th, 2025 meeting of the Planning and Economic Development Committee stands adjourned. The next meeting of the Planning and Economic Development Committee will be Monday, December 15th, 2025 at 5:45 p.m.